Hello everyone and welcome to a new video from Your Overwatch. I'm Eddie the Chump, and right now we've got some updates about the brand new patch that's just gone live to the PTR. This is patch 1.31 and includes changes for Bastion, Brigitte, McCree, Torbjorn and Doomfist. There's quite a lot to get through, so I'm just going to run through the notes for you guys so you have a better idea of what to expect. Bastion is receiving some changes, and in his recon mode, his ammo capacity has been increased from 25 to 35, and in his sentry mode, his weapon spread has been decreased by up to 33% while firing. The developer comments read, Bastion could use a little bit of an offensive boost to balance out how vulnerable Recon's bulky size and Sentry's statutory nature make it. To address this, we increased the ammo he receives in Recon mode and gave Bastion a lower spread in Sentry mode to make it more effective at further ranges than it was previously. So extra ammo when you're wandering around as a robot is quite nice, but the main way that Bastion is often utilised is in his turret form. And ever since that firing mode stopped being able to crit, it lost quite a lot of its long range potency. Now to me this spread change just makes Bastion better and more reliable at what most people are using him for currently. Now with Ashe coming into the game, the power creep in mid-range hit scan has meant that some firing modes left alone for quite a long time have needed to be buffed a little bit to bring them more in line with her. You see this with McCree, who we'll get to later. I don't think either of these changes means that we're suddenly in a Bastion meta, but it's certainly welcome for that hero. Next up we've got that shield bash nerf for Brigitte, which we talked about in today's earlier video. Shield Bash no longer can travel or stun targets through barriers. The devs expand with, Brigitte's Shield Bash is a strong ability that often feels difficult to counter. This change will offer new options for counter play, enabling shield tanks to better protect themselves and their teammates. Well, what a short amount of words for what could be a massively impactful change for the entire game. So me and FREEDO quickly jumped on the PTR to test out this Brig change, and we did speculate earlier that when Brig tried to use Shield Bash but encountered a barrier, she still might move the full distance, but the stun wouldn't count. As it turns out, that's not the case. If Brig touches any barrier while trying to stun, she will stop dead, which is a fairly straightforward interaction with, say, a Reinhardt, but when it comes to something like a Winston bubble, things get a little bit interesting. There are situations, as you can see in the examples, depending on where you're positioned, if you try and stun, you won't actually move anywhere. And trying to stun a Winston that's partially exposed from his bubble seems to be quite tricky. It appears that at least half of his body has to be outside the bubble for the stun to count. And even if you do stun him, you yourself will stop dead on the bubble's threshold, while Winston is knocked back into relative safety. This change to how she interacts with barriers really does introduce a genuine footsie game between the Brig and the tank player. As the Brigitte, you're going to have to be a lot more careful about when you choose to use this potentially clutch ability, because if you make a mistake, you could end up getting seriously outplayed. To me at least, it didn't make a whole lot of sense that a support could just walk up and bully a giant Reinhardt. I feel the time is right to say tank mains rejoice. If you've been playing the game and getting frustrated with the constant amount of CC coming at you, jump on the PTR and see how you feel about all this after playing. I get the impression you'll rather enjoy yourself. And don't worry too much, Brig mains, there's still an awful lot of value for you to go out and get with stun. Right, moving on to Doomfist, the notes read, rising uppercut, loss of air control duration lowered to 0.6 seconds from 3 seconds, and seismic slam, maximum range reduced from 20 meters to 15. The developer comments are as follows. Doomfist's high mobility allows him to engage and disengage from extremely long ranges. Decreasing the range of his targeted aerial version of Seismic Slam requires him to get closer before engaging an enemy and makes it slightly harder for him to escape from combat. The loss of air control on Rising Uppercut was a frustrating mechanic for players, but it allowed Doomfist to set up combos. We found a decent middle ground by limiting the time Doomfist has to line up his next move. I think it's fair to say that playing Doom just got quite a lot harder. Not only do you have to put yourself in more dangerous positions while jockeying for space, but once you do land that slam uppercut combo, your target will gain control over their character in air much quicker than they did before, leading to real world situations where you won't get kills after this change that you might have done previously. I don't think many players will shed a tear for Doom being nerfed, but I do have the opinion that he's just one of those characters that if you change just a little bit too much, they go from completely dominant to almost utterly useless. Now also there's another aspect to this. I've been playing Ashe a lot in quick play, and I have to say that with her inclusion, I think Doom was already in store for a much harder time to get his value than he was previously. I know people don't like dying to him, but I do worry about him very quickly becoming quite unviable. To be fair, time will have to tell on this one, and as it's such a divisive topic, why don't you guys let me know down in the comment section below what you think of the Doomfist nerfs. Now moving on, it's my boy McCree, and it seems at least that we could be returning to the days of McRightclick. The Peacekeeper has had its alternate fire damage increased from 45 to 55. The devs expand with, McCree's Fan the Hammer wasn't as reliable of an option against higher health pool heroes as it should be. Increasing its damage will make it more potent in close range engagements where it is intended to be most effective. So the way they've explained it on the patch notes is a little bit unclear. Instead of doing a potential 270 damage with Fan the Hammer, you'll now do 330, which of course can be mercy damage amped for even more. Now it's funny that the devs mention that Fan the Hammer wasn't reliable against higher health pool heroes, yet it was for exactly this reason that it was originally nerfed in the first place. McCree was judged to be a little bit too good against tanks way back when, so I think this buff is actually another indicator of the effects of power creep in Overwatch. With all the other crazy stuff in the game currently, does it really make that much difference if McCree's right click is improved? Well, yes, I do think players will notice it, and it's not just tanks that it'll be better against. You'll stand a much better chance of killing a Reaper or a Mei or a Brigitte with Fan the Hammer now than you have for quite a long time. Having said that, I still personally think that Ashe is just a better character than McCree even after this change. You guys will have to let me know what you think about that in the comments section below. And finally, we have a direct buff to Torbjorn's ult. Molten Core damage is increased from 130 to 160 per second. The developers explain, while the Molten Core damage pools were intended to provide players with tools for area denial, they weren't proving threatening enough to deter enemies for a significant amount of time because their damage was too low. Now what isn't clear from the patch notes is whether this increased base damage has any interaction with how Molten Core affects armored opponents. We assume not, because this change feels like it's designed to increase the damage after the armor has been ripped through by the ultimate. What used to happen quite often was that Molten Core would rapidly go through a target's armor, but then its lower base damage would just let them escape. This change, we feel, looks to put an end to that. As the devs say, they want to make it a serious threat. Word of advice moving forward? Don't stand in Molten Core. As many Torb mains can now attest, hard work definitely does pay off. And that's about it for the hero changes in the patch notes. Like I've said throughout, let us know how you feel in the comments section below. There are some potentially massive changes here, especially Brigitte and Doomfist, so I expect the conversation in the comments to be quite lively. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to leave a rating. If you never want to miss another video of ours again, please click the bell icon next to the subscribe button on our channel to join the notification squad. You'll be in great company. And finally, please follow the Your Overwatch Twitter. It's where you can find updates about new videos and other cool stuff. I've been Eddie the Chump, and until next time.